Hello guys, today we have the last episode about G Wagon G63 4x4 Squared. Now I want to go to the city and tell you everything about it, and of course we will go off-road, try it there, let's go. Guys, so we drove around the city. I showed the car from all sides. It seems to me that this is very worthy car. I personally really like it. You, of course, you write comments whether we managed to build another masterpiece or not. I really like and admire each of our projects. I really like it, even off-road cars, when they are built with taste and when the client understands what and where to put. It turns out very beautiful and it's nice to look at, exactly as manufacturer. I just love this car. Let's talk about driving qualities. As for me, I like everything, especially the German final drives. They are so silent. And of course, if I drive a car for 3 or 4 days and know where what makes noise, I can tell exactly how noisy final drives are. But at first glance, since I have already driven 10 kilometers, and you may ask, why so little? Firstly, cars are not from Ukraine, and riding it I risk because of the police. Of course, we have a power of attorney. I would not like to waste time through explanations to the police. Well, I drove 10 kilometers and didn't hear anything at all. There was no howling and noise. I didn't hear anything. About control. Basically, everything is fine. As it was, it remains. The steering wheel on 37 wheels rotates without problems on asphalt. There are no jerks or ruddiness on the steering wheel, as far as I could notice. And there is one but. The steering wheel, when you press gas, as the car has more than 500 horsepower and the exhaust is very chic and you constantly want to give gas, and when you give a lot of gas, you have to hold the steering wheel in 2 hands. I think this is because of the high power, and when you turn, when you press the gas hard, your steering wheel just pulls in that direction. Suppose this is less on the Laplander portal axles. We built one G Wagon before. It has 55 compressor and 600 horsepower, and there were no such strong shocks. It is clear that the portal axles and gearboxes are high and do not add to handling. That is, you cannot build a large monster without portal axles. So we go further. The rubber does not make any noise. You know that there is a Goodrich AT rubber, that is, it is the most non-aggressive rubber. It's considered as felt and a certain percentage of it is suitable for off-road use, but it makes noise. But this rubber makes no noise at all. I have ridden on different tires and I can say with confidence that this rubber is the quietest of all. Its only downside is that it is very expensive. Wheels and tires cost us $7,000. The discs here are made especially for the original, with all the original characteristics. We will now drive into the forest, and of course we will go around all the branches, since it is very insulting to scratch the black color. Well, a few words about the suspension. Here two springs are installed on one wheel and two shock absorbers with a remote receiver and adjustments. An exact copy of a 4x4 Squared. I once managed to ride the original 4x4 Squared. It was great. He was out new, the speedometer showed only 5,000 kilometers, but it was very bad in depreciation. And then one person told me that even in the original 4x4 Squared people install such a suspension, and I was surprised. And they install it because it is softer. So, we drove a little, and it seems to me that it became softer after their work. Because before their work, a non-original suspension for the G63 was installed, and it was a little hard to ride. It was hot and creaked in the cabin, but it was tolerable. Those shock absorbers are really good. I think the higher the speed, the better it absorbs the road. Our tires are inflated according to the standard 2.2 atmospheres. Less cannot be, as the sensors will complain. I really like the suspension, but there is one more thing. When we were building a 6x6 giant wagon, we installed King shock absorbers with an external receiver on it. I drove around, and I really like how the suspension works. But when we built the yellow giant wagon, we installed shock absorbers whose name I don't remember. The springs were standard, and it drove exactly like a Mansory. That is, there is no point in paying $7,000 for Kings. Because you can buy one shock absorbers for $150 and the car will drive exactly the same. Why I am saying all this? If the same springs and cheap shock absorbers were installed here, but there is a plus here that everything is regulated through a nut, and if you take care of this issue and install two simple shock absorbers and good springs, then most likely it will come out the same as now.
Можно регулировку, я думаю, сделать, и эти же пружины поставить, и попробовать, как поедет этот автомобиль.
We have a friend in Kazakhstan who built a similar jet wagon with two shock absorbers per wheel, and I wonder how his car rides, and if we had a chance to put two jet wagons and compare. Because paying 12,000 euros for a suspension is not cheap. In principle, the Giant Wagon 63 is not a cheap car, and you can see here a lot of carbon fiber and a huge budget. But the car is very cool. For new subscribers, I want to tell you what we have changed in the car. Let's start from the bottom. About our axles. The axles were left from this giant wagon. We installed 4 final drives from a German manufacturer. Installed, painted and all is well. We powered oil, drove off, and our gearbox went into emergency mode. Everything on the dashboard burned red. The car is very smart. If you want to install non-started LEDs, an error immediately pops up. But since the manufacturer of the gearboxes came to us, he told us how to solve some problems, and they have already been solved. Well, our suspension, I already talked about it, 2 shock absorbers, 2 springs per wheel, and special fasteners are already installed. We have wheels made to order from Taiwan, an exact copy of 4x4 Squared, rubber bought in the US, also like the original. Our arch extensions, made entirely of carbon fiber. The client decided for a very long time to paint the half in black like the original or not, and still decided to paint it. Snorkels. 2 Brabus style snorkels we ordered from China, but now we can make our own snorkels. Carbon inserts in moldings are also our work. Mirror covers are also of our own production. The footrests. We took the standard footrests and blasted and powder painted, black made. Electric pads. The Chinese guys know their stuff. Ordered, installed, and everything works. Gorgeous sound of G63. We removed the mufflers, sandblasted, painted with heat-resistant paint in black matte, which does not melt at high temperatures. Air vents. This is to ensure that when the door is closed, the air from the passenger compartment comes out. Those are carbon liners also of our production. A visor or a spoiler, I think it's a Mansory style with a lantern top. Completely made of carbon. It looks chic. Back door. You know that in all G Wagons there are 3 holes in that back for a spare wheel. We welded them, sanded them and painted them. They installed the badge like the original one and made a 4x4 inscription in a square for this place. Also lights from G63, everything as needed. At the bottom, a gas tank protection is installed. The original G Wagon also has protection, but it is made of aluminum, but the client did a complete anti-chrome. We sandblasted it, powder painted it, installed those pipes. Different countries have different laws. This is, the rear bumper should be at the level of the rear car. That's what those pipes are for. I didn't like them very much, but the client's desire is the law. I also want to say that not only carbon is installed on the mirrors, but also a spacer, like the original. We brought the mirror out through a special spacer. Also a turn signal. He was not here and he should stand through a spacer. We brought the wires here, installed the spacer and installed the turn signal. In the front we have a lot of beautiful and a lot of carbon. The visor is 1-to-1 like the original. It's not from China, everything is exactly. This is blinder for 6x6, but they are the same with 4x4 Squared. We installed carbon products, LEDs from Norden, in black. Looks very nice. Brabus style hood trim. They also screwed in a small self-tapping screws for the badge. The badge is also Brabus. I give 100% that it will not come off. I have seen many times how they came off in other people. We won't have this. It's better to pour in a lot of a sealant or somehow play it safe, so as not to come home or somewhere without aligning with sealant on the hood and with broken glass. We removed the front turn signals and replaced them with a Brabus style gill cover. Our headlights were black upon the arrival. We also installed LEDs here, without chrome. They are not from this giant wagon and we got hit in the face on the dashboard. But then we fixed everything. Overlay fang, carbon house, carbon laminated grille 2, carbon Brabus badge and the rest is installed by us. We go below. Lips are button of the bumper Brabus style. We also installed LEDs from Nolden here, and they are connected with turn signals. In general, we have a turn signal installed under the mirror, on the bumper and on the mirror. This is visibility according to the rules of the road will be excellent. Protection. Let me remind you that protection for 6x6 and 4x4 is different, and there are two different styles. This protection is in the style of 4x4 squared. Here the bands, the holes are slightly different, we have exactly an exact copy. And now I want to show you what we did in the cabin. We installed inscription on the door panels in the Brabus style. That's what the client asked for. The seats have exactly the same inscription in the same Brabus style. We also made rituals in black matte with the inscription Brabus that glows. We also sieved rugs from a special lizard substitute, which is not afraid of anything. We are at the front of the cabin. On the doors everything is exactly the same as in the back. The seats are the same. Instead of piano like you, we installed carbon, lamination was done on the frame, slide, here is where the seat electronics are, and on the handle. I think it turned out decent. Rugs were also sewn, and then we did dry cleaning, to make the client happy. Guys, I'm very interested in how the articulation of the axles will work here and how they will go through it. Here the resistance is huge, since there are two springs and two shock absorbers per wheel. We rolled humps in 6x6 and the articulation was excellent. There was no front stabilizer and the axles worked to the end. Let's try. I have downshifted and interlocked. Let's try.
Пробуем помаленьку, очень аккуратно.
You see that the rear left and the front right wheels are slipping. We can turn on the 4-wheel drive and block the front and rear axles, but I'm afraid, guys, that the car is very expensive and it will be very undesirable to fall on its side. Let's go back and find something easier. Guys, we just drove on a very bad road. We tested the mainstream G Wagon 6x6 on a very cool shock absorbers at the same particulation. If we compare two cars, which one threw more in different directions, I will tell you that the G Wagon was more shaky and tossed. But it passed the test very well, that is, no matter what the springs were. It clearly stood on the road and drove on. 6x6 made it all softer. Well, you can ask why I didn't drive him into the mud and didn't test him normally. I will answer you this way. The people who write this become my client, give me permission to test such a beautiful G Wagon. I would even say a masterpiece G Wagon, and I will test it in the mud with your permission. Of course, not every owner wants to see how his car gets dirty, scratched and drowns in the mud. Why is this needed? Well, I ask you, if you like this G Wagon, please write in the comments about it. What's bad, what's good, if someone notices that our snorkels are cowardly, I will answer you that we fixed them and at the last seconds we saw that the metal was bare and unpainted. We removed those two fasteners and sent them for painting and will install them today. This is not due to our improper installation. Neither two fasteners have been removed. Well, on this, guys, I will finish our video. This is the final episode of the G Wagon 4x4 Squared, another masterpiece from our company. Guys, in order to pick up our car, the client will have to drive more than 2000 kilometers home on it. When he arrives home, I will definitely ask him if there was any problems. I will ask him to stop after 300 kilometers and check if nothing flows or the temperature of the parts, whether there are noise or not, and I will definitely tell you about it in the next episode. Today I can tell you that the car have driven more than 1000 kilometers and there are no problems, and perhaps you have a question for how long the car of the time was built. If you fully pay for the project and prepare everything before starting, exactly such a project can be repeated in 2 months. But you need a very large sum in advantage to buy everything. To make carbon, if you make the car easier and with less carbon, it will be ready in a month.